So thank you so much again. Our next guest is going to be Adam Lasch. He's a first-generation farmer based in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. He's raising about 150 beef and dairy cows, as well as sheep and chickens on approximately 200 acres. Adam and his wife, Betsy. Betsy's right here. Wave, Betsy. And their two kids are here, too, which is awesome. How old are you guys?
I am 9.
What's your name?
Rhett. Boone, and I'm 11.
How awesome is that? We're so happy to have Brett and Boone here with us, too. They've been farming since 2011. They got started by raising stocker cattle, and they've been 100% no-till since 2015. And as a young farmer without a lot of established infrastructure, the Lasch family enjoys the flexibility of being able to respond to whatever the growing conditions are or the market dictates, and adding diversification in the fields and growing the right crop on the right ground. So please welcome Adam Lasch.
This here is my why. Okay, this is my family. They're the reason we're here. This is the reason we're farming. Betsy and I started a dairy in 2015 because she wanted to come back to the farm. We didn't know what we were going to do. We said, well, let's figure it out. Let God handle the rest, and we'll make it work. So these two boys like to show at 4-H. This was here last couple weeks ago. Can you guys hear me back there? All right, perfect. So this is Boone likes Herefords. Yep. Brett likes the silver animals. All right, we started in, Brett was born in March of 2015. Betsy came back. She's like, I really want to stay home. Let's raise our kids. Let's start milking. I married the dairy farmer. I am not the dairy farmer. Not at all. But we had the land. We had some cattle. We had the feed. We had the infrastructure enough to make it work. I said, well, hon, I think we can take this old crappy barn and let's build a parlor on it. And so we spent from October to April, when we finally started milking, April 18th, 2016 is when we started milking. And we literally did everything. We poured the concrete. I welded all that. I engineered everything. We found junk, cheap units, whatever we could to make it work because we didn't have that much money to start. This is the first 5 cows that we had in that barn. We started with late calving 2-year-olds. That some of them had been run as beef cows the year before, which was hard, and 3-year-olds. And the first 5 cows didn't even kick the jar over. So that was kind of let down for us. We couldn't even get milk into the milk tank. But we were super excited. Hey, we were milking cows. We were going up, okay? We started in April. We've got our first milk check in June. So we're waiting like 6 weeks. Like, where's this milk check coming? We get it. We're getting excited. First milk check opened up. $12.38 a 100. And that's when reality came home. This was going to be a slog. Okay? So how did we get here? And I'm going to hit on a lot of things. Most of you guys have heard my talks on the soil health, the cover crops, all of that. I'm not going to touch on that much today. I want to talk about the tide and the river that we're floating on. And more of the themes behind agriculture. How did we get here? What's going on with the behind the scenes? The ag policy, some of the demographic issues, all of that. And then try and tie that back into conservation and demographics going forward. Okay? Here's our chart. Corn yield. So 1995, straight up line. Basically 2 bushel an acre every year. What is everybody trying to do? Jerry, are you trying to grow less corn next year?
I am. More profitable corn.
More profitable corn. This is probably not the crew. When Grant's talking about 600 horsepower tractors, that's our area. Like, that's where we're at. Bigger, more, faster, harder, stronger, deeper, all of it. Okay? This is soybean stocks to use ratio. This is from last week. That is the highest level we have ever had. This chart goes all the way back to 1960. Okay? Where are we headed with this? More. Okay? Land prices. 1950, nominal and inflation adjusted. Up and to the right? How would you describe our world the last 50, 70, 100 years? Okay? This was me. I was 3. I wish I'd have been buying land in 1988. Okay? So, I'm going to come at it from the younger person's perspective. I am about to be 40 here in January. Okay? I look out there, I see a lot of gray hair. I do not mean that as a bad thing. Okay? But we do not have enough. My generation is going to have a completely different perspective than everybody older than that. Okay? This is basically what ag policy has been. U.S. policy in general, up and to the right. How can we do more? Let's grow more. Let's do more. Everything's more. We don't say, let's do with less to make more. Economic factors of production. Some of this, you guys are probably going, oh, God. No, trust me. Land, labor, capital. That's all of it comes to. Everything we do on the farm comes to those three things. Okay? One thing we never talk about is biological capital. It doesn't show up on our balance sheet. As a young producer, it absolutely matters to my operation. But I can't walk into the banker and say, hey, because I have more organic matter, I don't have to put as much fertilizer on. The banker's going to look at me and go, okay, how do you put a dollar number on that? This is where I was laughing at Grant and Dawn's thing about putting an actual dollar amount to the soil loss there. Bankers won't count that, but that matters. That helps produce a crop in a tough time. That makes me a little more resilient. I can farm another year. Maybe I don't need as much nitrogen, depending on what the market's doing. Okay? Biological capital, in my mind, is anything under that soil. Mineral, biological, worms, archaea, all this stuff. I wasn't able to get to the meeting yesterday, but I'm sure you guys covered a lot of it. How resilient is it? Maybe it's the nitrogen nodules there. Rick will yell at me for planting too many legumes. Planting green. Any water going to run off that? No. How about those two little rapscallions? How about the knowledge in their head? They're part of the labor, but what about the amount of knowledge that they have? I've never plowed with like a moldboard plow. I'm hoping they never have to till. But they can walk out with me and they go, Dad, what's this? And then I'll quiz them on it. What do you think that is? Oh, that's sunflower. That's a clover. That's a vetch, right? I got to tell a quick story here. So we got up at 2:30, milked the cows, got in the truck, got the boys up I think we left the yard about 5. And it's about 2.5 hours to get here. And the boys are pretty wound up, because we asked them last week. We're trying to figure out how do we get them, what do we do about school, all that. And we said, well, you know what? Screw it. Let's take them out of school. Boys, you want us to come with us to a convention? They're like, yes. We don't have to go to school. Get out of school. I'm like, it's a long car ride, Matt. Yeah, it's all right. No big deal. We'll bring some books. They'll play. They'll sleep, whatever. And I had to count it. We made it 42.5 miles before Rhett goes, are we there yet? And then we were about 5 miles from getting here, and Boone goes, are we there yet? So they're my why. They keep us going. We've done all the things. Some of you guys have heard my talks. We've done the interseeding. We've done the no-till. We've done all of it. We built soil. Our soil was basically concrete when we started. That was me literally ripping up a corn stalk. A lot of you guys in here are farmers. You know what this is. Okay? One of the other things that I don't think enough people talk about in regards to their farms is biologically adapted animals, whether it's seed, whether it's livestock, okay? Keeping seed, how the animals behave. Grant and Don were talking about that. They teach. We run our dairy heifers with our beef cows because they learn how to be a cow, which sounds stupid. You take a dumb dairy heifer that's been raised without an elder animal there, they don't know how to graze. How do you teach them? And then, if you're limited and it's 2019, it's too wet to do anything, you physically cannot graze your animals, you do stupid things. This was a green chopper we rigged up to try and bring some fresh feed to the animals because we couldn't to the dairy cows. And I'm kind of proud of this picture. This was a complete screw up on my part. I had a pin shear on 3 rows of the planter, didn't do anything with it, found it when we were going to interseed. Somebody found that, hon. Where did they find that? I don't know. We were contacted by somebody from the Smithsonian Institution. They wanted to license that rights. That picture there has been for the last couple of years in the Smithsonian Institution in the Ag Soils exhibit, which is pretty cool. This is a lot of you guys in the covers are gonna relate to this. How many times have you looked at your crop, looked at the neighbor's crop and went, oh, I'm a terrible farmer? This is quite common. Nobody believes what's underneath the ground. Most people don't even have a shovel. Okay? One of the best parts of being, let's say, resource limited is it makes you be creative. It forces you to innovate, forces you to get creative, find new ways of doing things. Well, that'll never work, but I don't know any other way, so we're going to have to do it. It forces creativity upon the mind. And then some days, can you guys read that in the back? It says mistakes. It could be that the purpose of your life is only to serve as a warning to others. I have been this guy in the neighborhood. It's like you're doing a crop and it looks like absolute crap and you're like, oh, some days that's what it feels like, an absolute shipwreck. All right, what I kind of think are keys to success, especially for young guys getting started. All right, where are my farmers in here? All right, nice. Plug the leaks in the system. Is it soil blowing away? Is it water running off? Is it sunlight getting spilled? Things like that. Farm deeper. That's why we started the covers. We've got really nasty clay soil. At about 4 feet, we've got a gravel layer where all the water sits. And if we can't get below that 14-inch layer, which we have a natural pan from all years of tillage, there's huge amounts of nutrients locked up in that clay. If we could just get them off, get them up. What do? Plant some rye, plant some diversity. Let's get some deeper rooted things in there, pull those nutrients up. Then we don't have to have all the fertility on the other side of it. Never spill sunlight if it can be avoided. I mean, a lot of guys know this. You guys know that. One thing that I came across, and it was like, always like, man, we are just getting buried by some of our neighbors on some of the yields and such. A biologically driven system can never be expected to compete head to head with an extracted one due to the lag time it takes to get the biology working. Think of modern farming as mining. We're physically forcing it. We're taking that crop out of the ground. You're tilling that soil. You are forcing that ground to produce. There's a lot of negatives with that. When you switch to the biological system, it takes time. That ground is hungry. It wants to be fixed. It can be fixed, and you can make a lot of progress. The problem here is the person doing the thinking. Because until you've made the mistakes, you have no idea what you're doing. And it takes time. All right. This is the positives. Here's some negatives here, okay? Demographics today. We have a problem in this country, and nobody's talking about it. Okay? Total number of farmers. This was from the Ag Census. It was just published here in 2022. All right, so they just published it in February. A little over 3 million farmers. Okay? Where are my boomers at? I'm going to call them the Facebook generation. Okay? 1.2, almost 1.3 million farmers are over the age of 65. Okay? So 1/3, better than 1/3. All right? Here's another scary one. Where are my Xers? Twitter generation. 800,000. You add them two up. That's 2 million farmers in the next 20 years. Quiet. Kind of scary, isn't it? And then the 25 to 54. Is this the Instagram, the TikToks? You know, TikTok can be the younger than 25. Okay? That's a problem. Nobody's addressing. I have a theory that in the next 10 years, 10 years, youngest guy at 65 is going to be 75. That instead of the climate smart and the conservation programs, we're going to have more beginning farmer programs from the government. Because who is going to buy all the assets? Who's going to be farming this ground? Okay? Here's the age distribution. 2017, the 2022 is the green, 2017 is the red. You're not supposed to use these in a PowerPoint presentation, but not follow rules. Okay? Look at how old we're skewing. This is 55 to 64. Okay? That's a problem. Here's the wealth distribution. Makes sense. The longer you've been doing something, the better off you are at it. The more time you've had to accumulate wealth. Look at this. Silent and boomer. Gen X, 55 plus. Millennial, 40 and under. There's a huge amount of acreage going to transfer hands. Ag assets are going to change in the next 20 years. Big time. Life expectancy. If you make it to 65, you got 10 years. I don't mean to say that as a bad thing. If you make it over that, you're wonderful. But this is where we're at in the U.S. Start your succession plans. Okay? It's easy to reminisce about the good old days. So this is a U.S. median age chart from 1950 all the way to the present. Okay? Tom, when were you born?
When I was really little.
When did you start farming?
Officially 1980, according to the tax structure.
1980, right here. Okay, look at the average age. Who else was in your neighborhood farming? Bunch of guys your age, right? Yep. Okay, look where we are today. America's gotten older. Lots older. Rural ag's gotten older. Okay? It's a different system. Things are different today. We got to recognize that. Any thoughts? This sign used to be hung on pieces of equipment. This is something for a tillage piece from 1970 something. It says tillage promotes a safer environment for tomorrow. How about them people in Minnesota? Think it was safer? How about the water in runoff that we have in our area? Okay? Part of the whole demographic thing is capital flows. Okay? You started in 1980, Tom. I'm going to pick on Tom. Okay? Look at that. Interest rates started running wild, right? That was probably a formative experience in your young life, correct?
Went from 8.5 to 13 3/4 in 4 years.
In 4 years. You probably look like me in the $12 milk thing. Okay? But then, what happened? You had a 40-year tailwind. Buy something, refi it a few years later, if you survive. And a lot of guys did. And that has to be recognized here. A lot of guys weren't able to make it through that. But if you did, you were able to get on the other side of the mountain, other side of the hill. Here's my controversial take. This was the cycle that worked for the last 40 years. Make a terrible financial decision to buy something with too much debt. Okay? Struggle for a short time because of that financial decision. Federal Reserve would manipulate capital costs lower. The asset price would rise, allowing you to refinance it, sell it or rent it, come out on it. I'm a financial genius. And then you repeat the cycle. And if you did that through that 40-year tailwind, you get what American ag is today. I'm not saying you didn't work hard. I'm not saying it wasn't hard or stressful. It was. But this has worked. I don't know if it's going to work for my generation. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Where do we get all the things? They're not making any more land. Land prices only go up. All right? Tell you a story here. This is why I'm so passionate about where we're going in ag. My mom is one of 10 kids. They own a 126-acre piece of ground, all of them. And then the oldest is just now turned 74, and he's retired and he wants to sell it. Okay? 126 acres, all tillable, surrounded by subdivisions. Okay? They're talking about selling it. Betsy and I thinking, well, we farm, let's try and put a pencil to this. Haven't come up with a cost, but let's just say conservative in our area, it's 10 grand an acre. Okay? 126, that's 1.26 million. Put down some money. Even if you could get a low interest FSA loan, it'd be 5.6, 5.9. Either way. 40 years to stretch out the payments, it'd be $487 an acre land for the next 40 years for us to buy. The math doesn't math. It doesn't work. Okay? Because that land payment has to be paid with after-tax dollars. So how does a young couple starting out make that type of a jump? It's awful quiet in here. It's a hard conversation. It's something we're in this country going to have to figure out. Okay, here's the other negative side of this. Total federal debt. So with those lower interest rates and all that capital came a whole lot of borrowing. What are these boys going to be left with? We're going to inflate away the debt. We're going to have a 1970s style. 1970, the debt was very minimal. I don't have the answer to this. I just know we have a problem coming. Okay, I'm a Twitter guy. I know Stock Cropper is. Where's he at? We have a YouTube guy in the house. How cool is that? Okay, it's hard to see here with the thing, but this is going back to like 1950. This is inflation-adjusted home prices all the way up. We're at the most overinflated time. Put this to any ag asset, land, equipment, cattle, bins, all that. Sometimes, as a young guy, kind of makes you wonder, who are you fighting? Because all we hear is, oh, the investors are going to buy the land. Where'd the kids go? Our neighborhood is very old. And I say that because it came home to us. We had a bad storm come through in June, and it knocked the power out, trees down, everything. My 86-year-old neighbor, 83-year-old neighbor, called me in an absolute panic because her sump pump was going off and she had water flowing into her basement. 86. She can barely get up and down the stairs. She's living alone in a house, all by herself. Her kids are 40 minutes away. And we started looking around the neighborhood. Little old lady there, little old lady there, old couple there, another old couple here. What happens if we have a real issue? There's not enough young people to help. We need to get young people coming back to rural America. Okay, so I'm going to call all you guys the experienced elders because you've got a lot to offer. Okay? I'm going to challenge you to share your knowledge and wisdom. You've got it. Don't hoard it. You got 10 years if you're 65. Let's go. Share it. I'm going to ask you to guard your criticisms a little bit. You guys have seen everything. It's easy to kind of pass off what the young guy wants to do. And this is where I have a lot of respect for what a lot of you guys are doing in here. I know a bunch of you are doing this. You just got out of the way. Let the young people make the mistakes. Let them figure it out. Guide them when they can. Sometimes let them fail if they can't. See what happens. Okay? This is one of the things. Know that it is a great fallacy. The wisdom of old men. They do not always grow wise, or they do not grow wise. They grow careful. Is that true? Careful, old guys? Probably sounds like I'm picking on them too much.
The problem is you're too young. That's
It is?
all these old people they gotta figure it out.
Good luck on that.
All right, to the young and the inspiring. Fully utilize the resources available to you. And for goodness sakes, be flexible. It's going to take some serious flexibility in the world we're headed into. Okay? Seek knowledge, always. Your cell phones have more computing power than they had to go to the moon. Okay? We have everything. There is so much information out there at our fingertips. One thing we've learned with the boys in school, they don't even teach spelling anymore. Because every computer they're on will spell the words for them properly ahead of time. That's a skill that people don't even need anymore. I disagree with that too.
I was a teacher, I'm retired.
I disagree vehemently with that, but that's where we're headed right now. Remember the whole thing? You may not always have a calculator. That was my generation's thing. You may not always have a calculator in your pocket. Well, yes, we do. I'm going to hit this one too. Build a network. I have met some great people doing this. Absolutely great people. I'm a member of the Racine County Watershed Protection Committee. I just absolutely love things like this. We need more of these everywhere. They're amazing. Build your network. I love that. I will say, do not seek out validation, especially from the naysayers. They'll never give it to you. You're going to have to plow ahead on your own. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. You will be stronger for it. You will learn more because of it. Okay? Don't worry about people stealing your idea. If it's original, you'll still have to ram it down their throats. I think this one is very easy to empathize with. How many people have dealt with that? Okay? Agency people, policymakers. Anybody in the room? Awesome. I'm going to challenge you guys too. Stop focusing on new acres and practices and producers. Okay? Let's take care of those who are already proving it. They've taken the arrows. They were the pioneers. Let's take care of them. Because we will learn more on ground that is already making it on how to short circuit and get it done faster. Let's let them experiment. I don't know how many times we've paid for guys to plant culverts. It didn't work the way they want. They don't want to change their system, or they don't want to work the cover in any direction, or soil health practice in any direction. They look at covers as just a wedge to be thrown in with a bigger hammer, and they're not going to change their system. Let's stick with the guys. Let's take care of the people who are already doing it and proving it. Weak incentives produce weak results. All right, I'll give you a good example. Literally on Saturday, our milk cooperative, Prairie Farms, sent out a letter. We have to, as part of the to be able to sell milk, we have to be part of the farm program, which is farmers assuring responsible management. It's for cow health and cow flow and stuff like that. Anyway, their new one is Farm ES, which stands for Environmental Stewardship. Okay? And it's completely voluntary right now, but one of the things they'll do is they'll pay you 3 cents a hundredweight incentive payment if you fill out all their paperwork. Monthly. Okay? And it's in the weeds. How much dry matter for this ingredient? What are you growing here? How much electricity use are you using? What do you think your carbon scores are? It's pretty all-encompassing. It's our data. They're going to offer us 3 cents a hundredweight. Okay? So to put that in perspective, 3 cents a hundredweight on 1 million pounds of milk is $300. Okay? That 1 million pounds of milk is worth $200,000. Where am I going to put my effort? Into making more hundredweights and taking care of the animals I have, or doing a bunch of paperwork? Does that make any sense? So weak incentives. If a farmer is working with ground that is worth $10,000 an acre, and he doesn't value that ground, do you think a $25 an acre ride payment is going to move the needle at all? No. We have to make conservation so profitable that it cannot be ignored. There's nothing else we can do. It isn't working. There's tons of programs out there. One of the local co-ops in our neighborhood got $40 million to do conservation. They can't get anybody to sign up for it. So how do we change that? And I'm open to ideas here. I got lots of problems, but I don't have that many. All right? My biggest thing, especially for new and beginning producers, is who is bearing the risk? It's easy for agency people sometimes to come up with a solution and throw up their hands and say, wow, we just chose poorly there, I'm sorry. Meanwhile, the farmer is literally losing money. And you're going to ask a young guy who may be on the edge already, I've been there, to bear that risk. It doesn't work. The incentive isn't there. We have a lot of things we can do, and I think it's like anything, there's growing pains. We're going to have to change the incentive structures to make conservation much more profitable. And the laggards they're not going to come on board. The farmers that aren't doing it, they're not going to do it until the guy across the fence is so profitable that he can't physically ignore it anymore. That's what we got to work with. Oops. I'm big on books. I love them. I listen to them in my earbuds while I'm doing chores, making feed, working in the fields. These are some of them. I had heard that Dave Montgomery was maybe going to show up. Gabe Brown. The demographic ones here. Peter Zines are great. Great Leveler's good. Fed Up's another great one. Fourth Turning, fantastic on social dynamics. Obviously the dirt, the erosion of civilizations, Worst Hard Time. We don't want to go back there. But it feels like we're on a train wreck for it. Without counsel, plans go awry, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established. Proverbs 15:22. There's a lot of counselors in here. Let's put our heads together and figure out some solutions.